John? You ready?
I don't want to run you over.
Run me over? Oh, there you
You're going to run me over.
go. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Am I on here? Today is February 18th, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. Let's first start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Miller, will you take the roll call?
Yes. Chairperson Walker is asked to be excused, and so in his stead, we have Secretary Walconis. Laura Walconis is the chair for the meeting. So then we will go with Mayor Jacobs.
Here.
Trustee Walconis is present. Trustee Barry, he usually does come a little late. Trustee Beydoun.
Here.
Trustee Clark.
Here.
Trustee Hyder has asked to be excused. Trustee Nazardim, we're still waiting on him. And then Trustee Taylor.
Here.
Right, okay. You do have a quorum with 5.
Okay, then we'll move for an approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second by Dr. Clark.
And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? The motion carries.
Okay, presentations.
Yes, good evening. I just, really a real quick presentation. There's really not a formal presentation here at the DDA, but I just wanted to let the board know that on January 27th at the council meeting, we did do a presentation to our community groups that volunteered at the chili cook-off. And so we gave them a certificate and thanked them for their participation, and also listed the total price that they did receive. If you can recall, we approved a rate of $15 per hour for each group by hour. So, and so we listed all of those, and we have those amounts. If you can recall, we did the hourly rate in exchange for a service that they provided to us as a volunteer for the chili cook-off. And we then, in turn, donated that money to the service organization. And this just, again, we're doing a record keeping, and we wanted to recognize them and, of course, invite them to be volunteers next year, too, is the biggest thing. As you know, the chili cook-off requires a lot of volunteers, and this is a recording of all of those volunteer hours. So I just wanted you to be aware that we did it, and what's going on when you're not here. How about that? So.
Okay. I move to items for consideration. The consent agenda, items 1, 2, and 3. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented, A, 1, 2, and 3.
I'll second.
Right. We have a motion and a second. All those signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Right, the motion carries.
Any discussion?
Oh, I forgot the discussion. Any discussion on that? Sorry. No discussion? Okay,
No discussion, we're good. Okay.
thank you.
And B, action items with public comment. Items 1 through 4, Matt?
Yes. So the first item is before you is a business incentive assistance program. And included in your packet, you'll see that is item 7B1. And a while ago, I had talked to, to the board, one of the goals that I was going to do was to review each of the incentives that were out there that the DDA at one point in time had approved or maybe approved. Some I wasn't 100% sure. I couldn't find the minutes that did it. But that we had some of these programs out there, but all of the programs were dependent on whether there was available funding and also how it was implemented. And so I just wanted to real quick go through kind of the programs that we have or have had, how about that? And then give a suggestion maybe how we could go forward. One is the Facade and Parking Lot Improvement Loan Program. That was a program that's established to loan $35,000 for facade improvements or parking lot improvements for a certain property. The loan was set up at a 0% interest for the first 3 years, and then a half of the current prime interest for the remainder of the loan period. Often the loan period was established as a 7-year payback for a total of 10 years, so it's kind of 3 free, 7 then payback time for that loan. And it could be used for a myriad of items, demolition, brick cleaning, patios, awnings, ADA compliance, parking lot improvements, anything like that. And of course, all of it had to be approved by the director and the board, and the council had to also approve, because in fact, we were loaning the money out, and we also were responsible for the distribution of that $35,000. So that is kind of in place still, but it's not being used a lot. And also, we've not set aside funding for a number of years for the program. So we do have currently, though, 3 are out there, and I just wanted to let you know, the one, of course, at Pierce Place is active, and they're paying it back. But the other 2 were given for Maplewood Lumber, and the Maplewood Lumber received 2, but they have not gone forward with anything in a 3-year period. So we still are under contract, but we have not, the owner has not chosen to go forward. We still have not done a formal, we're going to stop this contract, but we're working on it. We may be adjusting it to where the contract is over. The other item is that if say they come to do it, we do have to then fund it. We would have to take it from the fund balance to fund it, because we didn't have any money set aside for the program years for that. The other is an architectural cost grant, which we most recently used for family heating and cooling, if you can recall. And that is $4,000, and it's reimbursable. It's for an architect to prepare plans. One of the things in the original program was that we would have a DDA designated architect, but we don't have an architect designated at this time. But we would have to, if we chose to implement it, we would have to, of course, kind of revitalize the program to do that. A signage grant program, and that's $1,000 to be used for signage improvements and also to bring in non-compliance signs into compliance. It can be a total of $1,000 and 25% of the total cost of the sign per applicant. There were some caveats in there about you can't extend the size, you can't be an existing business and then want to enlarge. There was a few caveats in that sign program. And then we also have interior improvement grant program. And again, that was the one I couldn't find that we had ever funded, and I don't know if it was ever fully approved. So I wanted to say that we did, at one point in time, it was discussed, a total of $5,000 for interior improvements, and those would be physical in nature, which I explained. And then with any of the programs, we have some eligibility requirements that they, of course, tax delinquency. They can't, they can't owe the city money. Also, the property owner couldn't have other properties in the city that they were tax delinquent on. Property in litigation, any condemnation or receivership, and then also it wasn't offered to franchises or retail chains. So I was, as I reviewed all this, I thought, well, what is a way maybe we could look at changing the programs to where we could put forward maybe an incentive program to where we could kind of bundle these all together for any new businesses coming in or existing businesses to say that, you know, why don't we do a grant for $5,000 for the facade of the building, couple that with our architectural grant, and then the sign program for $1,000, say at each address it'd be $10,000 that we would grant to the owner. And I think it could be a good incentive to come forward and say, you know, if we do up a brochure, we can say this is a program that we're offering to locate in Garden City and to help with kind of those early startup costs. And even if, say, you're an existing business and you want to fix up the facade, you know, $5,000 could help get you down the path to something you may want to do that you didn't think you could do, or something like that. And I just wanted to, you know, talk about that, a program like that, and also that if we allocated $50,000 for next year, we marketed it, and we, you know, reassess in a year to see if it worked, or maybe people thought, well, I don't want that, or it didn't help. But I thought we certainly could try. You know, if you think about, we allocated, say, 2 loan programs, that's $35,000, $35,000, that's $70,000, and we didn't get much, we only have 1 out really currently. Maybe if we allocated $50,000 total as grants as opposed to repayment, which we have the right to do, to offer an incentive to locate in the district, to try and go forward and see if that would work. So I don't know what your thoughts are about that, but I did, if you'll see in the budget, I did set aside some money for programs like that. One of the things that I think would be a benefit also in the program is that if, say, the business goes out after a year or something, but they've made a physical improvement, we still have the district looking better, and I don't know if we can chase a business that's closed. It's been difficult. It's been proven to be difficult on our behalf. But I think that the benefit would be that the work was done, you know, was designed by an architect, and then the physical work was done to the structure in the district. So I don't know what your thoughts are, or if you want to have further discussion. Of course, I'm certainly open to questions. The other item is that then, if, say, we go forward with this, I would like to also have a motion where we suspend the other programs while we're implementing this new program, so that we kind of have a clean slate to go forward. So does that sound good, or what are your thoughts? So,
Anyone?
Could any of this be reimbursement for work already done?
I didn't think about that. I don't know, you know.
Example, I'm not
Yeah.
saying, but like I did replace all my windows. We did do our sign. We're doing interior improvements right now.
How long ago?
Well, the only issue.
Those was
Yeah.
middle of last year. I'm doing the front room and part of the garage now, because we had a little small fire there. That's all getting done. The sign, that was done 4 or 5 years ago, but like, even with the sign thing in here, on the old one at least, it says 1,000 or 25%. Is that like whichever's the lesser of the two?
Correct.
The signs, like, my estimate was 38,000, so that's why I think it's.
Okay, well, yes.
Yeah, so I'm sure it wasn't.
Sure.
Just as far as even how we word it in there, if it was to stay in there, because it says 1,000 or 25%. Not
Well-
like up to 1,000 or 25%, or maximum 1,000.
It was maximum.
Okay.
And maybe in the description, that's the next page, I do talk about the business incentive programs, and I put it all in one spot.
Okay.
And the only thing with work that's already done is that prior to any work being started, the board has to approve the
Yeah.
grant. So that's where we may have an issue there. But one of the items in there, again, I put it all together as what I'm calling a business incentive program, to try and attract people to come into the district.
And these would be grants, not loans.
Correct.
Except if it's a parking lot.
Pardon?
Except if it's a parking lot. Parking lot would be a loan,
I didn't know it would just,
according to this.
The 35,000.
The 35,000 for parking lot.
but we would suspend that program.
So you would allocate $50,000 only. It'd be capped off at $50,000. annually?
That would be, for example, if we did 5 separate grants for 5 different locations.
That's what I'm asking. So let's say we get, because we got a lot of business coming down Ford Road, and we get 15 people trying to get grants. Where is it capped off at?
Well, that's, it would be dependent upon funding, and we would allocate the first year $50,000.
So once it gets to 50, say 5 of them come in, each one's at 10, for instance. The 6th one, we tell them, sorry, the funds have been already dispersed, and we capped off at 50, understood?
I think it would be easier to do a grant than a loan, because then you have the responsibility of chasing a loan
Correct.
after that.
Correct.
This is just liberated and make sure it stands by the standards from the architect.
Well, it's also, yes, and it's also reimbursable, so we would reimburse as the work is completed according to the agreement they've told the board for.
Mr. Mayor, did you have a comment?
I think, I know there's a couple businesses I can think of right offhand that I would hope would be interested in the grant to fix up their facade area and that. So I don't think anybody was taking advantage of the loan program. So I think I'm with Mr. Miller on give it a try for a year, see what we got. I don't know, we have 5 or 10 businesses. If they're moving into the city, I would think you've already got your plans and you probably already have your money all set up. This could help, but I don't know that we, I think the 5,000, up to 10,000 would be a good incentive to get people to fix up their properties. I would think they would take advantage of it first, and then I think moving forward, we see how it goes. If nobody takes advantage, we suspend it for next year.
How has been our spending for the grants in the past couple of years?
We haven't had any money for them,
Haven't had any money.
correct? And so they've not been funded.
So
We've
has
had
there
very
anybody-
little. We've had, a little bit of money.
Has
So,
anybody applied?
No.
So there
But
was
we
the-
had family heating and cooling.
Okay. And they were denied
They were approved.
or they were granted?
They were granted an architectural grant up to $4,000 to cover some,
So the past couple of years, we've only had one applicant.
yes.
But
Yeah.
we also haven't advertised.
That's what I was
We
going to
haven't
ask.
advertised it at all. There's been no, other than verbal,
Sure.
if somebody,
Once you do, there's
called
going to be
it.
lines outside.
Well, just for
Could be.
clarification purposes, are you capping it at 5 businesses, or would you take the $50,000 and disperse it amongst however many businesses applied, if they fit the criteria? So would you take 5 and divide it up into 10 if 10 applied, or 50,000? Or would you cap it at a certain amount of, we'll only accept a certain amount of grants?
I had set it up so that it's first come, first serve, up to $50,000 to C. Again, the caveat I put in there is that this is all subject to funding, so we can allocate this year, we might not have the money to allocate next year. That's the other issue. So all of the programs all along have been that we only say that they're available if we have the funding allocated.
Matt, what about, so you're saying that it's for new businesses, but as well as existing businesses, correct? So would you give them each the same amount of money, or would you give new businesses coming in, say, 10,000, and maybe set a time frame for that? And then if that hasn't been used, then more established businesses can apply for maybe a lesser of a grant, maybe the 5,000 instead of 10,000? Just to keep, to help keep downtown looking clean and neat.
Well, I had thought about that, but I thought that it's $10,000, but it's kind of 5,000 facade, 4,000 architect, 1,000 sign. So it's kind of broken up, the 10,000. You don't have to take advantage of all of them. Some people may say, oh, my sign's fine, I want some ideas of what to do with my facade, and, maybe they'll pay an architect. Whether they implement it or not, we're not sure. But, and maybe they don't take the 5,000, or they take all three. So it's kind of a buffet, I guess, or, a plan where they could take some or not take it. But I think it's important to, once we, advertise it some, number one, and we do get people that come into the building department, new businesses, do you have anything? And I don't like to say, well, we don't. And I think this would be easy to implement also. And on top of it, it will assure that the work is getting done properly. We do require permits, and we do require them to front the money, but we will pay it back as soon as we get the receipt. And, we have a short turnaround time for reimbursement, so.
And then I guess the second thing is there a time frame on this? Are you going to let this run from January through December, or because of course we have to have a cut off at some point, so we can establish where we're at for the following year.
I would do it in the fiscal year, July 1 to June 30th is how we would have to kind of do it, because the funding would establish beginning July 1.
Okay, so we want to make a motion to vote on that?
Well,
Anyone?
it's up to the board,
Up to the board.
what your thoughts are.
I guess I think we just, what's our long-term goal for these grants? That's the question we gotta ask, like, what are we trying to get out of these grants? We wanna beautify the downtown,
Correct.
and we just come up with an idea to implement that. So if our main purpose is to beautify and make the downtown look nice and welcoming, how do we get clients to come in here? And I guess that's the question we gotta see, and how do we incentivize that with these grants? How do we put a plan together to say, okay, this is what we're doing to bring people in, and letting them know this is what we're rewarding you for investing in the downtown DDA and making it look nice? I don't know, I guess that needs a discussion to see how we would do that.
Well, I'd mentioned in here that we're going to put together a brochure one. We're going to put a link on our website. And the link will include, of course, the incentives, the whole program, this couple pages. And we'll hand out the building department. We see a lot of people. We get a lot of traffic through there. We get a lot of traffic on the website also, to really, to advertise that we're working to try to make it look better, and we're going to help you this way to make it look better. Or it could be, we've got a couple people that have come in that I think it could help. They could have helped them, make that last step to say, I will come here, and this will be a good business location for me. And they're giving me an incentive to start. We had talked about a long time ago, the council had talked about, incubators or something like that. This kind of could be almost an incubator program kind of that I think is important for the staff to actually meet people with something. We could offer them something, and then, then we have a discussion starting, as opposed to sometimes we get people, some business people aren't business people, but they have a dream, and maybe we could help them figure it out. And an architect, I think, is a good way to help them say, you got to do this, you got to do this, things like that, to help them through the process to make a physical improvement to the building. The landlord, it could help a landlord attract a person coming too.
Yeah.
That maybe it could help them fix a common vacancy, and it's because their building really doesn't look that nice.
So we look for the buildings that need some work, incentivize it for them, and maybe approach them. Because
Yeah.
that's what our long-term plan would be, just to beautify the certain properties that are looking like they need help.
Yes, and we had talked about, there's some that we all know that they need to make it look better. So, and they will get a knock on the door from me if we have the program say, and say they get $10,000 from us. The architecture cost is almost covered for the most part if they're doing a simple facade, and the architect can help them fill out the permits. They sometimes have the connection to a contractor that will do the work properly. So that part is easy. Say then they get a $5,000 grant. Say they match it. That's $15,000 at that one location, maybe. That could help. We're not saying that this is the end all be all, but it would help. And maybe, maybe they could see the value. If we're willing to invest our money, they'll invest a little, and so that's more, right? So,
Yeah.
Can I just make one suggestion? I don't know. With the way the grant is split, like if we're gonna package it the way it is, just me personally experience, I would think the facade should be larger and the architecture should be a less amount. Just because going into that thing, it's architect, if you're doing a project where you're looking for a $10,000 grant, a lot of times you're not gonna be needing blueprints. Depending on what you're doing. It just might be new signage on the building, new this, new that, where you're not even gonna use an architect. So this might give them more of a, okay, you get 7,000 for facade, 2,000 architectural, and 1,000 for sign. It might like incentivize them more because they might not use that 4,000. They might know an architect that might come out and do it for them for $1,000, $1,500, in that matter, where I feel like the facade would attract them a lot more than anything else. That's gonna be the most expensive part they're gonna do.
okay.
Okay, so you're going to make an adjustment to that amendment?
Do you know what a typical architecture fee would be on a small? Obviously, Kmart property is not going to be worried about that.
But, we would still give it to them.
Right, but
sure.
they're not going to be the one. It's going to be the smaller businesses, and hopefully it's the established ones that are going to need it and hopefully improve their facade and take a look at it. So I don't know personally what a typical architect would charge versus a facade
So for
cost.
interior plans? Is that where, so like,
Facade.
exterior, okay.
Exterior.
Well, interior plans, let's just say I had like a little section inside the Marshall yard. We had an architect come in and quote us at $3,500, and that was just for plans, just for a little section inside the food court.
Okay.
Exterior, I remember about maybe, 5 years, 6 years ago, we had gotten the whole plans for the whole building on the outside, probably about 6,500. That was just the outside. And then I had a 3D designer on the inside, so that was a building that was 24,000 square feet. When it
That
used
was how much? For the outside?
6,500.
6,500?
Yeah, and that's without the 3D
Yeah.
or interior plans. I had to get another company that did that on the outside, and they gave me a deal, but he told me, now, I don't know if he was gaslighting me, but he told me he typically charges $25,000 to $30,000.
Well, to speak on what Mr. Bredoon was saying also, if somebody comes and evaluates the building, an architect, and draws up a plan, we spent a lot of money on that plan, and the person doesn't proceed through that, then it's all gone for nothing. Whereas if we emphasize, you actually have to make a structural change to improve it, then the money is going for something that is structurally visible.
Yeah, they
If we're
pay them at
trying-
the end.
Right.
They pay them
But
at the end.
we don't pay them until they turn in receipts for the
Right,
work
but
they've
the
done.
work that-
Yeah, but if
But
they
we're
got-
saying
If they got the
if somebody
architect
comes
and
out and
saying
drafts a
paid,
plan, there's
we'll get
no,
it back.
that's a job done, but nothing has gotten accomplished
Right.
beside the plan.
Yep.
Whereas
Right.
if you load it the other way, then something does get done. Leave the responsibility of the architect to the builder, and we'll just help them get to their goal.
Yes. Okay. I can see that, and that's why
Oh,
we're
another-
discussing it. I'm glad we are, so.
Another amendment for implementing the design, correct?
Yeah.
That,
Is there any other discussion?
We want,
So we kind of, I think we should make a motion to implement the business incentive program with the change to $7,000 for the facade and a reduction of the architecture to $2,000. Does that sound correct? Is that what you wanted? Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept a new signage grant with changing the facade to 7,000, increasing it, and decreasing the architectural to 2,000, and leaving the signage at 1,000.
Okay.
And also no longer following the old programs that we had and getting rid of those.
Okay.
Second
That was Dr. Clark.
Dr. Clark. Mhm.
All those signify by stating aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? And we forgot one item, though. Is there any public comment regarding this before we call a final vote? Right, thank you. Sorry. So the motion does carry with 6-0. Thank you. Then the next item, I'll get there, I'm sorry.
I think we're at other business, Hometown Heroes.
I know the next item is purchasing policy
Oh, we're still in the, okay.
and action items.
Okay, here we go.
Yes. And
Two.
so I wanted to, one, first of all, say that there was an error in the book that I gave you. So first of all, that is, I'll put it out there. So we all got the reference books, and in there, if you can even recall, there was the purchasing policy, and one of the lines was red, and I don't know, I just glanced over and I assumed that was approved. But in March of 2024, the purchasing policy was discussed with the red line in there about requiring other signatures, but it was tabled at that time. I don't know if you recall, if you were present at the meeting or not, some of the members here. But I assumed it was approved, and it was not. When I reviewed the minutes, I found that we had tabled that. And so we really are going back to a purchasing policy that was in 2014, not an amendment in 2024. One caveat of my whole speech today. So when, again, as we're looking and reviewing things, as I had said I was going to do, is I wanted to talk to you about the purchasing policy to see if we could increase some of the amounts. The city has almost similar increased amounts, but the DDA operated under a lesser amounts for approval for purchases. And I just wanted to kind of, if you go to kind of the second page of item 7B2, I put in the purchasing policy that was in place, not the one with the mistake of where I thought it was approved. So I just went through, and I'm asking if we could make some adjustments to increase any discretionary items from $1,500 to $5,000 and to not exceed $10,000 a month. And then any non-budgeted items, again, do the same. Non-budgeted, non-emergency, I would say, are discretionary items, and I just wanted those to equal the same amount. And then also keep, though, anything that's under $5,000, this was in place, we can utilize the credit card. The DDA no longer has a credit card. It's actually a city card that is handled, really paid through from DDA funds, but paid through the accounts payable at the city, which all of our bills are paid for cash handling is through there. And then I was requesting any items from $5,000 to $10,000. Of course, we would attempt to get quotes or attempts, but I also wanted to talk about kind of sole source or prior business with the past knowledge of services. Like, for example, we do have some people that come to the chili cook-off that the tent company knows what we want, where we want it, how we're going to do it, and we can see if we could utilize them again for giving us specifically, of course, good service to the DDA. And then also in addition there is that all purchases for publicity and promotions, and I gave the line item, is that if it's included in the total cost of the event, and this is mostly for the chili cook-off, is that say we approve that we're going to have budgeted $30,000 for that within the $30,000 we could spend in that budget for it, as opposed to coming for, like at the last time in July, porta potties, fences, tent, all of those, it would just be a cost covered in the event. And of course, any of those items, they can be paid for by an invoice unless the cost is $5,000 or less, and it can be paid by a credit card to go back to the original amount of $5,000 by credit card. And then also, any emergency purchases, we would also look to see if we could increase from 5,000, and then it would have to be approved by 3 members of the DDA board. These are emergency purchases or situations, and it would be 3 members of the DDA executive board. It'd be the chair, the vice chair, and the mayor, the executive board. So that was, I just wanted to see if we could make an adjustment to that. It's been over 10 years since the purchasing policy was revised, and everything has gone up that we purchase exponentially, actually. I think you all know that by running a business. But also, just so you know, we would still be reporting all of this to you monthly, what was spent in each item. So you would be able to see still the check register, and the approval process would still be the same for that. So I'll be happy to answer any questions regarding that, and see if it's something you're interested, or if you want to keep it. I don't necessarily have an opinion, but I was given the goal to review these things, and I'm just following through on it. So
what I'm getting at, or getting out of this, is that this is mostly probably for our events, chili cook-off, possibly the Lucky Squirrel, but mostly chili cook-off, to where we have a set budget of how much we're going to spend or could possibly spend up to. And instead of coming back for every single item, porta potties, everything else, we can lump it in and go, the tent's going to be 6,000. You have the discretion to pay for it, since we know we're going to use it anyways. That's what I'm getting out of it, basically.
So we're just streamlining this, right, to make it easier for hosting the event?
yes.
Okay, well, that's certainly reasonable. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the new purchasing policy.
Second?
I'll second it.
Missy seconds?
Okay. All those in support
Public-
signify.
Public comment?
Okay, yeah. Is there any public comment? Thank you. Thank you. All right. All those in support signify by stating aye.
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 Opposed or abstained? The motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Okay, the next item is item 7B3. And I did want to make a request to the board. I did put together just a small memo regarding John Prosh as the assistant director and his rate of pay. And I wanted to make a request for a $5 increase in his rate of pay from $25 an hour to $30 per hour. I did want to give credit where credit is due. John has been very helpful in this last year of service for me, because of course, as you know, I was appointed to fill the director's position for the DDA, but then in the midst of all of that, I was the interim city manager. It was a long summer, and John helped a lot. John has the focus of getting the public events done. He's helped me meet people that I didn't know in the district, and he's just really, I think, an asset to the DDA, and that I can call him. If I can't take care of something, I can call, and he's reliable so that we can get something taken care of that I can't get taken care of at that time. And I wanted to state that publicly, thank him on behalf for me, I assume the board, and that we're looking forward to this year to having some good public events, 5 public events that we host, and John is instrumental in all of those, and assists in handling, of course, not only the attraction, the safety while we're having the event, the cleanup after, and then he does the books after to make sure that we have accounted for all of the money He meets with myself and a member from our staff from Accounts Payable to make sure that we've got everything paid, and then does a balance, what do you call that? I'm sorry.
P&L?
P&L, yeah, profit and loss, for that event, and it's been instrumental. And I just wanted to see if we could, as we go forward, to strengthen our relationship with John and his connection with all of our departments. He's working quite well since we moved to City Hall. He and I are here, and we see each other, of course, more. And I just wanted to see if that was possible, so.
I'll make it simple. I'll make a motion to raise John's hourly pay from $30 an hour from $25 an hour.
I'll second it.
Right, there's the motion support. So is there any public comment?
Jeff Holt. I've known John for years and years. You're getting your money's worth here. Good deal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I agree, very dedicated.
I'm not public, but I think so far, from what Mr. Miller gave me, he's worked about 280 hours since August of last year, which isn't, and I know we got some free hours out of that because of just the way he is. So I agree, he's an asset. And I know whenever I've called Mr. Miller and he couldn't get to it, and one example is when we had raised the flag up to full staff on after President Carter's death. Mr. Miller couldn't get there, but John was there within about 5 minutes and got it back where it should have been. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So all those signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right, the motion passes 6-0.
Thank you, Board. Thank you for the opportunity.
Can we go higher if we wanted than $5, or are we capped off at that?
No, there,
Some grant money, or?
He's worth every penny.
Yeah, the budget's on here.
We'll review it next year for increases.
well, then that will kind of segue us into the next item, which is item 7B4, and that is the fiscal year budget for 25-26. So as we are moving forward, we're more than halfway through the year, and then the council has to really approve the budget by the second meeting in May. So the DDA usually tries to get in front of all of that, and we're required actually kind of to report our request to the council, because the final approval really is the council. Even though the DDA does handle capturing the money, the city council still has the final approval in this. But I wanted to discuss the budget with all of you and see if we could go forward. I kind of gave you two options at the end where we could take it, ruminate on it, or we could make improvements. One of the items, though, that just before we even kind of start, since there was a change earlier in the meeting about the architecture grants, we would, of course, reduce that 2,000 times 5, 10,000, and we would move that up to our facade improvements where I had budgeted 30,000, just so you know. So I'm going to write that down so I don't forget, actually, on here. And that would increase that to 40,000. So, but I wanted to just go through, and again, our projection is across the board a 3% increase for our tax capture of this year. And this is a projection that we're using actually at the city also for what the revenue will be. And so we're showing about again, a 3%. It's not a ton of money. I think, it's about another $18-some thousand that will be allocated as a tax capture to the DDA for the year. And I wanted to just kind of go through some of the highlights of the budget that where I've made some changes that we didn't have in the past and what that increase would be. Other than that, the budget that was approved last year would be the same amounts. But in legal services, I wanted to make an increase, bring it to $5,000, so it's a total increase of $4,000. If you can recall, kind of last year, we hired a new attorney for the DDA, And I've been sparingly using them because I don't want to, of course, go over budget. But this next year, just some things on the horizon that I think we may, need some guidance from them. And one is regarding a Brownfield Redevelopment Authority tax credit, and that would be a development agreement. We're in discussion with a property owner about a brownfield in the downtown. And so as we're in these discussions, of course, it is a new law that was enacted by the state of Michigan in June of 2024. Maybe 23, I'm sorry. It's a new law. Anyways, and as we go forward, if we do go down this path, I want to make sure that the DDA has proper representation and that it would involve actually a development agreement with the DDA and a developer, but it also means that we would lose a portion of the tax capture going forward for a certain number of years. So how a tax credit works is that if the project costs this much and it is deemed that it is a brownfield redevelopment authority, and the change of the law of the brownfield redevelopment authority is that in the past it was underutilized projects that could be used for commercial revitalization, industrial revitalization. But the law that changed actually permitted for a caveat if there was housing, which has never been permitted in a brownfield redevelopment authority. And that has been a change in the law that I think as we go forward, and we kind of, if you wrap up later in the agenda, kind of our housing readiness grant, we may have people that may want to take advantage of this property tax credit to do development of housing in the downtown. And in turn, I want to make sure, of course, that the legalities of this new law, which is very new, but has been done in the state in a few locations, is one, mutually agreeable to both the DDA and the developer. Also, it does involve the city too, would also have to enter into a development agreement with this person. But how it works is that a portion of the amount that is, say the value of the property is set at X, and if it was built, it is now Y. It's worth, $10 million now, at the taxable value of it. Well, that increase would be captured and paid back as a property tax credit to the developer to help pay down the loans of what they built. So a property tax credit via a brownfield redevelopment authority. So we would have to agree that there's a community benefit to allowing this tax capture to not come to the city or the DDA, really, in essence, so that we would be able to attract housing in the downtown. Actually, throughout the city, it can be done anywhere, but in the DDA, of course, we have to have a separate agreement with the DDA. So that is one item that is on the horizon that developers are starting to see, and that it is a law that is in place that could impact the DDA. And I just feel that I would like to have money in that legal services so that we're prepared to be able to make sure that it is a legally agreeable contract. So that was one item. In publicity and promotions, I wanted to make an increase of that, of a $20,000 increase, so that, just so you know, of course, we're working to try and make all of our publicity and promotion events better, and that we want to, of course, utilize all of our ability to of course, attract people to come to downtown. And the reason I'm asking, of course, is that we've got 5 large events, and this year, if you looked at our publicity and promotions, we're almost out of money, and we're halfway through. So we didn't budget well, shall we say. But for the most part, all those events have occurred. Santa, or the Christmas tree, the chili cook-off, and the 3 lucky squirrels. But we are close to running out of money, and we still got to do 1 lucky squirrel in this fiscal year. So I wanted to make a request of an additional $20,000 there. And then, of course, the facade improvements, as we discussed, it would be a total of $40,000, not $30,000. And then also this parking, $75,000 increase. I wanted to put that in there so that we are prepared to go forward on a parking improvement in the, what I call the northeast quadrant, kind of where the chili cook-off, Lucky Squirrel are, a seal coating, restriping, and then alleyway improvement. The alleyway is gone, actually, and so we need to make a physical repair of the alleyway that goes north and south, kind of from the Garden City Cafe to Jody's Bar, and then it goes west out to Middle Belt behind the eye care building. And I wanted to, we've had plans that were put in place. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've got to find those. It was a restriping and sealing plan for that. We're going to dust off those plans and hopefully be able to implement those this year. And then, of course, architectural assistance, we'll reduce that to $10,000. And so it's still, though, we will still have a fund balance $219,000 for going forward. As you know, we're trying to look forward to having some money in the bank. We didn't, 3 years ago, we had nothing. And as you can recall, we bought all new lights, and it kind of took us down to not a lot of money left. And so we're trying to have a fund balance and kind of have an idea of maybe where it could be spent. As we are looking forward to a development proposal for the Kmart site, possibly, we're not anywhere, we've not had any talks, but I want to be prepared, and I feel the DDA should be prepared to be able to assist if there's going to be a pocket park there, a community gathering space in these plans, an entranceway off a Middle Belt, something that we could improve our connection, this DDA's connection to the private property, I think would be a benefit. And I would like to start to use our fund balance or start to do a little saving with the projection of that I hope is going to occur. And so that's kind of the budget in a nutshell. I put it together in the green bar for you so that you see that we will be able to go forward with carrying, of course, a balance of $219,000, adding to our fund balance, and we have a $619 at a total of $839,505 in the end. But with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions and see, it's at your pleasure what you would like to do.
Excuse me. You kept saying you wanted to put publicity and promotions, you wanted to add 20,000.
Yeah.
You're putting in a total of 20. So we're not adding 20 to it, correct?
No, it would add 20, so it would take that line item to
60.
to 60 from 40. So that's the, from the bottom, 5 from the bottom. And if you look in the projected activity and the amended budget's 40 to 60. So it's an increase of an additional 20 to 60.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back to the Brownstown. How many years would we lose revenue from that? Approximately. I'm sure you don't have an exact,
don't
but
have
just, do you have
exact.
a ballpark?
I don't have an exact, really.
Of course.
But it could
Of
go, from 1 to 30.
Oh,
But
to
of
30.
course, I don't think that's very viable. I would think a 10-year payback would be something that would be incentive enough to go forward, but I'm not sure. So we don't have
Who
numbers.
sets that? Who sets that number?
We wouldn't in the development agreement.
We would in the development agreement. Okay. All right, that's just clarifying. Thank you. I think that your asks sound reasonable, especially with the attorney. We always want to make sure that we have the attorney available to us. So is there a motion to make these adjustments to the budget?
I'll make the motion to accept the 25-26 DDA budget with the All the number changes.
Very good. Dr. Clark will second? Okay. And please signify with an aye.
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 Discussion?
Excuse me.
Could we have a
Discussion?
public comment?
Oh,
Is there any
public comment.
comment on this? Right?
No
All right,
comment?
thank you.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
all right. No signify by stating aye
Aye.
Aye.
or opposed? Or abstained?
You've got the money, Matt. You-
The motion carried. So I'll prepare this with the city treasurer, and then they'll start to incorporate this into the entire city budget that'll be presented to council. They've got lots of meetings coming up. So,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
And now we're on to other business,
Yes.
starting with Hometown Heroes banners. And that, again, is Matt,
Yes, I have
correct?
that. So I just wanted to let you know, of course, it was approved last year, I forget when we did it, in August, I think. And we're up to 31 applicants so far this year, and that we've only got 9 more to go. And so I'll do another push at the council meeting to kind of fill those spots.
Is that
and then
with or
we'll be
without
ready.
that light pole?
Pardon?
Is that with or without that light pole?
That's true. Unfortunately, we did lose a light pole to an accident, so hopefully we'll get it back by Memorial Day. So anyways, I just wanted to let you know, and I've been working with all the applicants, all 31, and you would think it was easy, but it's holding hands of 31 people is difficult. Some do it all right and it's easy, but some people don't have scanners, they don't understand the online form, those things. But it's of course, I'm glad to do that, help them get everything submitted so that we can have the program. I'm trying also, just so you know, I keep talking about the program publicly, online, at the meetings, just so that we can get everything done into the printers. Last year, we were really, Signorama did a great job, but we really backed them into a corner because we didn't give them a lot of time, and I want to give them more time, so.
Very
okay.
good, very good.
So,
Matt, I have a question about that. Are the banners that are being put up this year, are they different people than were highlighted on the banners last year, or is it just a first come, first serve type thing?
they're all different from last year, yeah. And I would respectfully ask that we don't do a repeat until we know that everyone's been served, So, and then the next couple items, John can kind of just fill us in on Lucky Squirrel.
Yeah, so Lucky Squirrel's back again this year for 3 dates, May 17th, July 19th, and September 20th of this year. We already have, of the 5, so all 3 events hosted as a whole would be 525 spaces, and we've got 25% of that paid for and booked already, which is great for this time of year. We're talking about doing a bag day for the first one. Basically, what we'd have is a pre-printed bag, and we're looking to get customers or people that attend the event to capture their email so that we can build a database of customers to send information to about all city events. So that's in the works for May.
And just a caveat to that, in the buzz for that comes in all the water bills for every person, the next couple months, we have a little ad for that about Bag Day, and it's kind of cute. It's got a squirrel holding a bag. I thought it was kind of cool. So I did. And anyway, so that's in the buzz, so all the water bills, they will be able to, it's again, just we're utilizing the buzz to inform people and attract people to downtown.
What it's there for?
One question, who gets credit for that squirrel holding the bag?
Well, it was my idea, but it was implemented by Zach King, our communication specialist.
Very, very nice. Very nice, okay.
The September event this year, we're talking about trying to do like a harvest day in conjunction with possible other groups that want to do like pumpkin sales and things of that nature for the fall season. So we're really just trying to amp up the event to be more than just, hey, come check out these vendors, but hey, come check out these vendors and we're doing this, or and we have this, just to give a little bit better customer service to the general public so that we can, keep building the event. And then that feeds back into the chili cook-off and other events that we have. And then the chili cook-off this year is September 27th. We've already established that date, and instead of waiting this year, we've already met twice between myself and Mr. Miller to do pre-planning, get in front of this, and really, get it established, laid out, and situated for this year. So that's going well. And as always, we're looking for volunteer groups, volunteers in general, and to make it a great event, which is also in conjunction with DPW's Touch a Truck and the police and fire department and City Hall as well.
So, we're good. And then just a volunteer appreciation I sent to you, and you should have received it already, but we are having a volunteer dinner Thursday, March 20th at 6 o'clock. You're all invited to attend, and if you would like to, you can email or call with an RSVP. Also, we have, if you have children that are younger and need care, we're going to have the Kids Club open during that time. You can bring the kids there. You can attend the volunteer appreciation dinner. Of course, we appreciate all of your time that you volunteer for the board. And if you wanted to drop the kids off there, they'll have activities for them, and then you can go to the dinner and then pick them up on the way out. So that'll be open. But again, please RSVP if you haven't, to come and get thanked by the mayor and the council for all you do for our community. So. And then the last item, just on other business, the Housing Readiness Master Plan update. Just wanted to let you know we hosted a charrette, which we call a charrette, which is an open house, was on January 23rd, and we had a lot of people attend. And then we also put together an online survey, and that's been very successful. A lot of people filled it out.
Really?
It finds, I guess, younger people don't want to come to stuff. They just want to do it online. It appears, I guess. I don't know. But it worked out really well. We had a survey, and we're gathering input. That's part of the entire process that's required by law. Number one, for a master plan amendment, and that we, I feel successful that we were able to reach people that we don't know, because they're just sitting at home watching, and they can fill out a survey and give their input online.
What kind of, do you have a number? How many people replied online?
I think it's over 150. That's a lot, really. I mean,
Well,
planning and housing stuff isn't exciting. I think it's exciting, but but to John Q. Public, maybe not. But
Okay.
Again, we did that. We had a time frame, and actually yesterday we did kind of a final push. And it's funny that the last day I received a call in my office from a resident, and they saw it in the free newspaper that Don Nicholson gives out at City Hall. And she said, I saw it, I missed it, but is there a way to input? And I said, today, and I gave her the link, and she said her and her husband were both going to fill it out. So
Oh, nice.
again, it's
very nice.
we want to make sure that as we go forward, we've gathered. We're not in a vacuum. We're giving everyone the opportunity and the input. So
Okay.
that's all I have.
Okay, well, let's see where we're at here. Public comments, non-agenda items. Anyone? No, we're good? Okay. Director report, Matt?
I don't have anything else. I'm
Very,
sorry.
very good, don't be sorry. That's
Okay.
wonderful. Okay, board comments. Missy, anything?
I have nothing.
Alex? Mike?
No.
Dr. Carter? Mayor Jacobs?
I just hope to see everybody at the next meeting, and especially at the volunteer dinner, as Mr. Miller said. We greatly appreciate everybody volunteering their time on every board. We have a lot of boards and a lot of volunteers, and it's usually a good time at the event and a good way for us to recognize you guys. So thank you again.
Well, with that, this meeting is adjourned then. Thank you all.
Thank you, Secretary Welkonis, for running the meeting.
Thank you.